Welcome everyone to the last step that we are doing today. It has multiple steps, so please watch it all the way to the end. Things that I do on one might not pertain to you, but they might pertain to the other one. At this point, you have clothes that are finished, hopefully, pants if you needed them to get to the bottom of the frame. You have glued them together, but you have not glued them to the background. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. And then if you have a drawn head, you can't do much to change that. But if you have the egg carton head, you need to position that first and get that glued down. All right, so before I kind of determine where I want everything, I want to get the head glued down. And to do that, if you are an in-person, we're going to be using some hot glue. If you are at home, please use whatever you need to take the picture. You could even tape it, like a big ball of tape inside, but most of you are drawing, so yeah. So I'm going to put hot glue first at the bottom. And because this is going to move around as we work with it, I'm doing the head first so that I can move the frame where I need to, move the clothing where I need to. All right, so now that we have that done, and while that's drying, there we go, we are going to figure out where we want this frame to be. And we want to leave a little bit of space above the ears, all right? We want it to be centered. And then that will determine where and how much of our clothes are showing, right? Usually the collar of your shirt comes around the back of your neck, kind of like what is shown here. So the top of your shirt is kind of touching the chin. And then this space for all the way down is the neck going into the chest. So for this one, we're going to want to have it right about here, which means then that I want to draw a line. If we keep the frame here, right, I'm going to draw a line just at the bottom of the frame. And I'm going to draw a line where I need to cut the clothing. So that is where it needs to be. And I'm also going to check the arms, which is nice because I don't have to make hands. But we'll talk about that for the all right. So if I take the frame off now, I have line where the bottom of the frame goes. And now I'm going to glue my clothes on after I cut on that line. And I could always cut a little less off and have that go underneath the frame. I also need to cut my arms. Again, I could keep those on there too and just slide them underneath the frame. Doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm going to flip that over. I'm not going to do it on my background sheet because we want to keep that nice and clean. I'm going to grab my glue. So this is my clothing that has all those multiple layers on it. Now it's really important not to use a lot of glue. You do not want to have glue come oozing out, especially up by the top of the neck. So you could kind of run your fingers along the edges to thin that out. That way nothing comes out, oozing out, and it dries quickly. The reason you don't want to have any glue around the neck is you won't be able to add the colored pencil to add the hair. Okay. So next, I'm going to place it on here. Try to get close to where I was. Lay it down flat. Hold it down. All right. Then I'm going to double check to make sure everything is good on here. Okay. And now I am going to glue the frame down. All right. The only spots that I don't need to put the glue on would be the part that goes off the paper here. So I'm looking, everything else is on my paper, which is good. And all I have to do is a nice thin outline. And I'm doing something that I told you guys not to. I'm gluing on top of my background sheet. So I'm going to move that away. Then do a nice thin line of glue along the inside edge and the outside edge. Okay. Then I grab it, hold it carefully. I'm going to start down at the bottom and match that up. Since that needs to line up. And then if I had it flat, I could flip it over and rub it all down. I can't do that with the head. So I'm going to rub best I can here. Okay. And then you're going to cut out the white paper along the edge. Sometimes you can get underneath it. And so I'm actually cutting underneath all that. Some areas I can't because of the glue. But really all we want to do is just make sure that when we're done cutting, we don't see any white sticking out on the outside edge. And so for this to make it go a little faster, I'm coming behind that little section there. All right. So both of these now are completed with the frame done, close, glued, heads are done and attached. Now all we have are hands or arms and necks that we have to finish. So you have today's class and you have Thursday, the first part of Thursday, to finish this. So now you have to kind of backtrack. Think about what were the colors that I used, and you're going to add them going around the furniture, or not the furniture, the clothing. And you want to do maybe even the same layers with the hands and the arms. Okay, and then just work your layers. I'm not going to do the hands. Usually fur is going to go downward. So if you have a fox, maybe try to do contrasting colors, so like the red or the orange for the neck. but you want to have as many layers as you can see on your picture on your neck. You want it to look like it just kind of flows right down into that, right? With this one here, if I painted, I want to kind of look at how did I paint, what's the main color, and I think we would all agree that the main color on that one is going to be gray. And so I don't want you just to do gray, but I want you to start out with that main color and then add or build up color on top of that. So pretty much the same thing we're doing with the colored pencil. Right? And if you got glue, you're just going to have to kind of go around it. I will do my best as a gluer not to do that or not to add too much, but try your best to color all in the same direction and do your best to try to make it look and match the painting, right? Without having to go, the whole class with me making these videos, I'm going to stop here now that you kind of see what you're supposed to do. Again, if you have arms if you're wearing a t-shirt, you got to do the arms. You got to draw the arms and the hands. If they're out and they're visible, I always just draw a mitten look. So a thumb and then kind of a rounded bottom. That's really all that I'm going to require. Do that and then add the colors so that they match the head. And if you painted, same thing. You got to do hands if you see them, necks, and arms, and do your best to match the painting. All right. That is it. And Thursday we will submit. So good luck, everyone.